Well, because we've got Vincent Heeringa on now, the voice of the creative economy at idealogue.co.nz. Back from Israel, actually. G'day there, Vincent.
Good morning, Wemo.
Back into the election fray.
Election frenzy.
Yeah, the frenzy, the foaming at the mouth election. What a strange, odd few weeks we've had. I think everyone's pretty much over it, though.
Oh, are they? I feel like we're just getting into it.
Yes,
the Israelis know how to do elections. They're incredibly aggressive with each other.
Oh, no. Yeah, we know that. Okay, so you've come back and you're a little bit unhappy with what's been going on, I take it.
I let rip last night on my blog and also on Twitter to announce that I'm going to do a protest vote. I had to put some cards on the table, Wemo, which is not usual for a journalist. Not that I really am a journalist these days. I've crossed over to being a proprietor. But I am just appalled at this prospect of police searching media organisations for a tape of a conversation which, between John Banks and John Key, a conversation that media was invited to and then asked to leave, a conversation that's paid for by the public and should be on the table so that we know who to vote for. That's the purpose of elections, is to decide who we should give our trust to. And the prospect of police searching for this evidence.
Not just the prospect.
Evidence of what?
Not just the prospect, they have.
They have indeed, quite right.
Yeah. They searched yesterday. They said they went to the Herald and
on Sunday and TVNZ, and they'll probably be visiting TV3 today.
And Radio New Zealand.
Yeah. It upsets me on a number of levels, Wemo. I think, it's a trivial complaint and is exactly the kind of waste of time complaint that politicians shouldn't be engaging the police in. The police are obliged to follow up the complaint. So, at one level, it's just a pathetic waste of time, and everyone acknowledges that. And John Key could have demonstrated far better statesmanship, and he has in the past, by either just publishing the contents of their conversation or letting the issue go. But he actually filed a complaint, and I think it actually undermines his character and reveals a certain amount of, I suppose, good old-fashioned bully behaviour from a man who believes he has a right to rule. I mean,
at the risk of digging back into the full details of all this, which has really been banged out over the past couple of weeks, do you think he genuinely believes that it would set a precedent if he released the information? It would set up some kind of precedent that journalists could go digging into people's lives, or do you think that he is genuinely trying to hide something?
I think there's two things going on here. One, the media were invited to come to this event. It was well known that they would meet at that cafe. What did he expect? When you invite the media to come along, they will want to record what's going to happen. And the second thing is, they're public servants. They are organising a deal that has serious implications for the way that the government will be formed. This is of public interest. This is not a private matter on any count. They're on public pay. They're on civic duty. We have a right to know what was discussed.
So on that matter, as a publisher yourself, if you had a copy of the so-called tape, would you release it, it being in the public interest?
Yes, I would. Yes, I would. On the basis that there were other people in the cafe who could have overheard the conversation. There were journalists standing at the door who could have heard the conversation. There are times when you have a duty to report, and this is one of those occasions, because the way that the Epsom electorate will be managed between those two parties has a huge bearing on the future of the government. And we have a right to know. And sometimes that right is upsetting, and it's only news if someone doesn't want you to say it. And in this case, for some bizarre reason, they don't want us to know what the nature of the agreement is. If they really didn't want us to know, why didn't they have a phone conversation or talk about it privately in one of each other's homes?
Yeah. So now is the president been set in the opposite direction, where the media could always be threatened with the possibility of police coming in and searching?
Oh, that's the bit that I think is, if you talk about precedents, there is the whiff of Bainimarana about this, of as I say, of a politician using his influence to exert, I suppose, more power than really he should be allowed to, and the idea that the police should be able to search your premises because allegedly you have a tape of a private conversation seems to me to cross the line. It's unacceptable.
As part of the
and particularly in a case, Wemo, when you're dealing with public servants on an election issue, it should be transparent. And I guess you could as it now has gone to the High Court to talk about the intricacies of privacy law and so forth.
Yeah.
And that to me obscures the real issue here, which is here are two political parties, particularly in the case of ACT, that have argued for transparency and honesty in government. It seems to betray those principles.
What about coming at it from this angle? Is there a problem between the media and the public here as well, where the public don't trust the media, and all the polls were suggesting that the media was at fault here?
I think people don't understand the privilege that a free media is, and there is the whiff of the news of the world about this that John Key is trying to leverage. At the same time as this is happening in the UK, there is investigations, this court investigation into the phone hacking scandals, at a very superficial level, there's a comparison here because it was supposedly a private conversation that was recorded. But the comparisons are nothing more than superficial, because you're not talking about people's private lives who are dealing with, their private relationships or their tragedies or their crimes. You're talking about two politicians who are talking about matters that should be or are of public interest, that have material bearing on a general election. So the comparison is nothing more than at the superficial level, and I just think it's dishonest of and wrong of John Key to try and leverage that situation in the UK for his benefit here.
One thing I guess you could definitely say about John Key is that his life is not an open book, like some previous leaders have stated and said.
Yeah, I suppose so. I don't know. Why would you say that?
Well, he's obviously got stuff to hide. I mean, if as you say, if there was nothing, untoward in those tapes, then he would just put them out there. Yeah,
well, exactly. And it's obvious to everybody that there's an agreement between ACT and National regarding the Epsom electorate. And the best way to deal with that is to be upfront and honest about it so people know what they are voting for. I just don't understand what there should be anything, why there should be any secrecy around that. It's what the system allows. We may disagree with the way that the system works, and we have the right to vote against that. But it's pretty clear that National want to have ACT in government with them to support, to create stable government. Let's just be straight up and honest about it.
So you're casting a protest vote on Saturday, but you will definitely be voting?
I will. I wish the McGillicuddy Party was still there so that I could vote for them.
Come on, make your vote count, Vincent. Thanks.
Who I vote for still remains. It's my last vestige of privacy in this matter.
Well, we know who you're not voting for anyway, so...
Correct.
Thanks very much.
Thanks very much.
Vincent Heeringa, you can check out that blog, by the way, up at idealog.co.